Hello, and welcome to this week's final episode of the Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord. Today, we will be finishing Article 28 on Church Authority, and starting no more articles, the conclusion of the Augsburg Confession. Here we go. There are monstrous debates about changing the law, ceremonies of the new law, and changing the Sabbath day. They have all sprung from the false belief that in the church there must be something similar to the services set forth in Leviticus 1-7, and that Christ had commissioned the apostles and bishops to come up with new ceremonies necessary to salvation. These errors crept into the church when the righteousness that comes through faith was not taught clearly enough. Some debate whether or not keeping the Lord's Day is not a divine right, but similar to it. They prescribe the extent to which They prescribe the extent to which it is lawful to work on holy days. What else are such disputes except traps for the conscience? Even when they try to modify the traditions, nobody will understand the modifications as long as the opinion remains that these traditions are necessary and must remain. There the righteousness of faith and Christian freedom is not known. In Acts 15:20, the apostles commanded to abstain from blood. Who observes this now? Those who choose to eat blood do not sin, for not even the apostles themselves wanted to burden consciences with bondage to traditions. They forbid the eating of blood for a time to avoid giving offense. For in this decree we must always keep in mind what the aim of the gospel is. Scarcely any canon laws are kept with exactness. From day to day many go out of use, even among those who are the most zealous advocates of traditions. In order to treat the conscience properly, we must realize that canon laws are to be kept without regarding them as necessary. No harm is done to the conscience, even though traditions may go out of use. The bishops might easily retain the legitimate obedience of the people if they would not insist upon the observance of traditions that cannot be kept with a good conscience. Instead, they command celibacy and accept no preachers unless they swear that they will not teach the gospel's pure doctrine. The churches are not asking the bishops to restore Concord at the expense of their honor, even though it would be proper for good pastors to do this. They ask only that the bishops release unjust burdens that are new and have been received contrary to the custom of the universal church. It may be that in the beginning there were plausible reasons for some of these ordinances, but they are not adapted to later times. It is also clear that some were adopted through erroneous ideas. Therefore, it would be in keeping with the Pope's mercy to change them now. Such a modification does not shake the Church's unity. Many human traditions have been changed over time, as the canons themselves show. But if it is impossible for the adversaries to change those traditions, which they say is sinful to change, we must follow the apostolic rule which commands us to obey God rather than men, Acts 5:29. In 1 Peter 5:3, Peter forbids bishops to be lords and rule over the churches. It is not our intention to take oversight away from the bishops. We ask only this one thing, that they allow the gospel to be taught purely, and that they relax a few observances that they claim it is sinful to change. If they will not give anything up, it is for them to decide how they will give an account to God for causing schism by their stubbornness. Conclusion. These are the chief articles that seem to be in controversy. We could have mentioned more abuses, but here we have set forth only the chief points in order to avoid making this confession too long. From these chief points, the rest may be easily judged. There have been, for example, great complaints about indulgences, pilgrimages, and the abuse of excommunication. Our parishes have been troubled in many ways by dealers in indulgences. There were endless arguments between the pastors and the monks about who has a right in parishes to hear confessions, do funerals, give sermons on extraordinary occasions, and innumerable other things. We have passed over such issues so that the chief points in this matter, briefly set forth, might be more easily understood. Nothing has been said or brought up for the rebuke of anyone. We have mentioned only those things we thought it was necessary to talk about, so that it will be understood that in doctrine and ceremonies we have received nothing contrary to Scripture or the Church universal. It is clear that we have been very careful to make sure no new ungodly doctrine creeps into our churches. We present these articles in accordance with your Imperial Majesty's edict in order to show our confession and let people see a summary of our teacher's doctrine. If there is anything that anyone might desire in this confession, we are ready, God willing, to present more thorough information according to the Scriptures. Your Imperial Majesty's faithful subjects: John, Duke of Saxony, Elector; George, Margrave of Brandenburg; Ernest, Duke of Lundberg; Philip, Landgrave of Hesse; John Frederick, Duke of Saxony; Francis, Duke of Lundberg; Wolfgang, Prince of Anhalt; Senate and Magistracy of Nuremberg; Senate of Reutlingen. This has been the Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord, and I wish you a blessed day.